Hi, this is Amelia from Digital Stereo Guitar. We're going to go through a bunch of pedalboard tips and tricks. So these are tricks that I set up on my pedalboard that helped me greatly. So things from what Velcro I use, what cables I use, putting hooks on my board and a whole bunch of other little things. So let's give it a shot. Is the order of your pedals. A lot of people spend a lot of time trying to work out the order. A lot of people don't think about this, and they're just going to put the order of the pedals however they want. But it's something that will definitely change your tone, change your sound, depending on what order you put your pedals. So I generally try to put my volumes, my wahs, that sort of thing at the very start with my tuners. Then I go into my modulation type of pedals, into my overdrives, into my delays, and then out of the pedal board. The next thing is the cabling itself. You want to get good quality cables. This is something that a lot of people do overlook. You get cheap $2 patch cables, those yellow and blue and green ones. They will do the basic trick. However, they're not very good quality. You're going to get a buzz. You're going to get a little bit of noise in your line. And they're just pretty cheap things as well. So I definitely wouldn't recommend. If you've got a bit of extra cash, go and buy yourself better quality cables. I've got a couple which I've cut myself. There are other ones out on the market, such as there's lava lamp ones. There's George L's as well, which you can actually cut to size as well, which is really good. So you can just go from here to here, cut them. Some you have to solder, others you don't have to solder. Super good, super important. Get good quality cables. You're going to get much better tone out of your overall board as well. So, your overall cable length. This is something that can be overlooked very easily. You're going to find that after a certain length of cable, you're going to get noise on your line, and there's going to be loss of sound and that sort of thing as well, depending on how long your cable is. So you've got to think about it. You've got your cable that goes from your guitar into your pedals, right? They go into your pedals. Then from pedal to pedal, you've got maybe about that much worth of cable going to each pedal, right? So out of your whole pedal board, you may end up getting a really long cable. Out of the other end, you've got another really long cable going into an amp, right? Try to minimize that as low as possible. I've got some boosters, I've got my compressors, all these sort of certain pedals that will raise my volume as well. Try to keep pedal length to a minimum. Another thing that's important, maybe invest in some pedals that are true bypass. So what that means is when the pedal is off, it bypasses your pedal altogether. That's something that's very important, because if you have a pedal that isn't true bypass, then the cable from pedal to pedal is passing through your pedal, right? Even if it's off, it's still going through the electronics. If you have a true bypass pedal, you have the pedal off, it goes directly from one to another, doesn't go through all the electronics, which means you're going to get a bit better tone in the end as well. Velcro for my pedals was one of the most difficult things for me to find. I went through so many Velcros. I would have tried, I reckon, maybe 6 or 7 different types of Velcros before I found one that actually suited me perfectly. So I went through a whole bunch. I mean, I bought the standard sort of Velcro that you go to any hardware store. I bought the cheaper one, then I bought a bit more expensive. I bought some online, etc. And I ended up finding that over time, pedals started falling off. I'd hold my pedal board, I'd be carrying it, and then pedals would start slipping and sliding. So then I thought it's time to find something that's a little bit better. So I actually bought, I don't have much left, but I bought an industrial strength Velcro. So it's actually by the brand Velcro, and it's an industrial strength one. So it wasn't cheap. It cost me about $30. This is Australian dollars, which is roughly the same as the US, roughly, for about a meter worth of this industrial strength. It's only the one side. It doesn't have the soft side. It's just the hard side. And the teeth if you can see that, whether if it focuses or not, are extremely thick. They're very, very tough. And I have found no issues with this Velcro. It has stuck my pedals on wonderfully, and I would highly recommend it. The Pedalboard snake. This is one of the things that I've found to be very useful in terms of keeping my clutter of all my cables nice and neat. Now, I've only got 2 power cables and 2 standard guitar cables running through it, but rather than having it all individually, all of them running through, etc., I have thrown them all together in a snake, nicely tied up, which has been fantastic. So literally 2 good quality cables, the powers for my power on my board. I then went and purchased sort of like a cable sleeving, which is like elasticy, and I can adjust it and I can pass my cables through. Just one long piece, and then on each end, so from here, and then one on this end as well, just some cable tubing. When you apply a heat gun or fire, for example, like a flame close by, it actually sucks it in and it just tightens my ends as well. So that's something that I would highly recommend to look at as well. The power for your pedal board. Now, a lot of people think that all you need to get is a nice big power brick to power up your pedals. Now, that does sound good and all, depending on how many pedals you've got, depending on the voltages. Certain pedals may have different voltages. So what you'll find is that most guitar pedals are around 9 volt capacity, right? They don't need anything more than a 9 volt power adapter or the 9 volt batteries. Now you can use batteries, it'll charge them, it'll do what it needs to do. However, you are going to run out of battery very, very quickly. So invest in a good power adapter for your pedals. So people do go out and buy power adapters, right? So you've got DC Bricks, you've got Voodoo Labs, a bunch of all these other brands. Dunlop do bricks or power blocks for your pedals. They come with a little box with a whole bunch of inputs, and they go into all your pedals individually to power them nicely. Only thing, I've done that, I've been there, I've used them, they're great. Only problem for me is they take up space on my board that I could be using other pedals on, and they are expensive, all right? So what I've gone to is I've gone to a 1-spot power adapter. This puppy is brilliant. So it actually has a much higher, so 1700 milliamps, right? Now, the particular brick that I was running at about 2000 and was about that big. This puppy is 1700, just as the one power adapter. Now, this particular power adapter is specially made for power, for your pedals, okay? Don't go out and buy any 9 volt adapter and daisy chain them and expect it to work. It's not going to work. Well, it may work actually, but you may blow something, and you're going to get a lot of buzz and sound in your tone, which you don't want to do. This thing, fantastic. It powers a whole bunch. I've got 2 of them running into my board, and it can power everything without problem. It's powering my 9 volts, it's powering my 12, and it's powering a couple of 18s. So if you do have pedals that are requiring a lot more voltages, or you have a number of pedals that require 18, or you have a huge immense amount of pedals, maybe then do invest in a power brick. It may be better for you, but for most average players, most people who've got 10 plus pedals, something like that is fantastic. Keeping your board neat. This is one thing that a lot of people overlook. Keeping your board neat, all right? My board is fairly neat because I have drilled holes. I've passed my cables through. Keeping your board neat is absolutely critical for me because I am a neat freak. I like it to be neat. So I try to pass all my cables, I tuck them under things, I put them through the holes that I have on my board. I put them through like underneath the pedals if there's room to try to get it as neat as possible. That's the power cables on the tops and on the sides of my pedals, and the guitar, like the patch cables as well. Get it neat, looks nicer, has more room for more pedals and that sort of thing as well. So that's something that I would highly recommend as well. Okay, so my pedal board. A few little things that I've got on here. I've got hooks on here. So I've got a video that talks about how I built my board, what I put in it, etc. This is the board that I've currently got at the moment and the pedals that I've got on it at the moment. I have gone through a few other boards, bigger, smaller, depending on the gig size, depending on where you're playing, etc. But this is what I choose to do. Got hooks, not hooks, what do you call them? Handles on the pedal. So one on this side, one on this side. The board is fairly heavy. Lifting it out of its case makes it a lot easier. So something handy to have. I've also thrown some picks on here. All right. So rather than sticking it on the back of my guitar where I can scratch the the material off it, the paint off it, whatever, I've stuck them onto my board for easy access. And then I've got a iPhone case on there. Why would I have that? I mean, you can put any device on any iPhone. If you've got an Android, you can buy an Android case. What I found it to be fantastic. Currently, where I play mostly, I hook up my iPhone to a wireless desk. So I can run the wireless software on my iPhone, hook it up to the desk, and then I've got easy access to it all here. I can throw up my song list. I've got apps on here that control my chords, my lyrics, all that sort of thing. Chuck it up on there, big font, it works beautifully. All right, so that's some of my tips for some pedal boards. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. That'd be great. Thanks for watching.